Good evening, Facebook. Welcome back to Eating the Elephant, where we talk about Hurricane Michael recovery tips and insurance information, and we try to get people's wheels out of the ditch when things aren't going their way. I'd like to say hello on this Sunday evening where we have a super wolf blood moon, I think is what it is. Maybe it's a super blood wolf moon, I don't know, but whatever it is, it's the most impressive sounding moon I think I've ever heard in my life. So I hope those of you that are out there will get to take a look at it. We certainly don't have any trees to get in your way anymore, so hopefully you'll be able to go out and get a good look. I did walk outside a little while ago, and I have to admit, it's beautiful out there. There are still some beautiful things in this town. All things considered, all the things that have happened to us, there's still plenty of beauty in the world. I hope you'll go out and take a look at it this evening, even though it is very cold. I'm in my own dining room, and I'm still wearing a turtleneck because it's that kind of cold. I'm a Florida boy, and when it gets below about 60, I get nervous. So I want to get right to it tonight, and I want to talk to you about a job interview. My question, I think, for all of you is, for some of us, it's been a good long time since we've had a job interview. But the last time you did, how long did it take? Maybe, I don't know, an hour? I think my last job interview was probably an hour, hour and a half. The number of questions I was asked was probably 30, 40. I would like to suggest this. When you're interviewing an insurance agent and you're buying a new policy, most people, on average, spend less than 7 minutes interviewing their agent. I will tell you they ask 2.1 questions on average, and one of those questions may be, how much is it? And in addition to that, you have to figure that's 7 minutes if you're sitting face-to-face with somebody. Although most of the people that come in our office certainly spend more time than that. If you buy online, you spend much less time than that. I don't have a number for that, but I have I've posted a little bit this week that I think if you've had a bad experience with your agent after this hurricane, but you've had a pretty good experience with your insurance company, it may be time for you to find a new agent. And I think what you need to do is look at it as a job interview. And I've got several notes, and I would like for you guys to look at things maybe a little bit differently out there in the 850. My question, I think, fundamentally this evening is, when is the best time to understand your insurance policy? Do you want to understand it when you file a claim? Or would you rather understand it, do you think it'd be a better idea to understand it when you actually buy the insurance? I have to tell you, it's a little bit frustrating for me in that a lot of times when we're doing business in our agency, there's an awful lot of folks that simply look at the insurance transaction as just that. It's just a retail transaction, as if you're buying a pair of jeans at the Gap. And they don't, I think, really put the right importance on the transaction, and they don't think about the fact that the result of the insurance purchase can be much more significant than whether the pair of jeans you bought at the Gap fit properly. And so what I would like to encourage all of you to do is to spend more time on the front end so you have a better experience on the back end of the insurance purchase. And so what some people don't seem to understand because they don't understand insurance is insurance policies are very, very different. Insurance companies, insurance agencies are all very different. I think everybody is very hip to the idea that if you drive a Mercedes, if you go to a dealer and you buy a Mercedes, that's a very different experience than going to a lot and buying a used AMC Pacer. Two very different vehicles. You would expect to pay very, very different prices for those two things. Unfortunately, people don't understand the insurance product they're buying, so they don't understand anything except price. I'm going to go back to something that Warren Buffett said a long time ago, which I think is a brilliant idea. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. And I think a lot of us spend a lot of time focusing on price and not nearly enough time on value. And what I would encourage you to do as an insurance consumer is to spend more time on the value as opposed to the price. Price is still very important, but it's not the only thing to look at. If you're going to go out and you're going to talk to someone and consider having a new agent, again, I'm going to assume just for a moment that your insurance experience has been good, but if it has not been, assume your insurance company has treated you well, has paid you fairly, has done exactly what they should do. Even if it was a little bit slow in this case, they've probably earned your continuing business. Your agent may not have. If they were non-responsive, if they were unavailable, if they didn't return phone calls. Most importantly, if they did not advocate for you with your insurance company, if they didn't give you advice, if they didn't walk you through the process, if they did not advise you not to sign an assignment of benefits, it may be time to replace them. And if you're going to do that, what I would do is encourage you to talk to other agents, and we'll talk about how to find one maybe in a future episode, but conduct a job interview. Your agent is looking for a job. They are someone that needs to earn that job, and they need to convince you that they'll do it well. And so what I think we ought to do is I think we ought to talk about some potential questions you could ask your agent when you interview them for their job. Some of the things you could do: take your policy with you and meet with them in person. What do you think of my current agent? You could ask them, what do you like and dislike about my current policy? Do you see any gaps, anything obvious? Are there any questions you need to ask me to find out more about my insurance needs, about my exposures, about things that you should know in order to cover them properly? Do you think this is a fair price? If you do, why? If you don't, why not? What are the things I'm being overcharged for? What do you think the things are that maybe should make me a little nervous? It may be too good a deal. So, what could I do to save money on the policy that I already have? If I don't go with you and I stay with my current agent, tell me one thing that could save me some money. What would I have to give up? What would I need to change in order to save money? I think if you move beyond that, if you move beyond people's current experience, you can ask them lots of other questions. And I've made lots of notes here, and I think that's a little bit a departure from what we normally do, so forgive me for reading. But one of the first earliest questions you can ask is generally, what insurance company would you recommend and why? If you bring a policy to them and you think you might use the agent of record letter process that we talked about earlier, that doesn't necessarily mean your new agent is going to suggest that your current policy and your current company is still your best option. So ask them if it's still the best option, and if it is, why is it or why is it not? Ask them something very important. Ask them, if you ignore price, what is the most important thing for me as a policyholder, as a client? What is the thing that I should be looking at in my insurance policy other than price that to you is the most important as an agent? And I think that'll be very telling. I don't think it's necessarily got right and wrong answers to all these questions, but I think your agent should be well informed. They should be articulate. They should be able to explain all of the answers to all of the questions that you ask in terms that you understand. They don't need to use big words and try to impress you with their knowledge of insurance language and how smart they are. What they need to be able to do is translate the language of insurance and the industry of insurance into terms that you understand. If you leave an agent's office and you don't understand what you have, then you've not done your job as a consumer, and the agent's not done their job as an agent. They've not explained things to you in a way that you can understand. If you went to a doctor and you had some sort of illness, you would expect a doctor to explain things not in medical terms, although they always do. A good doctor, a good physician, will bring that into terms that you can understand. They will explain it in language that makes sense to you. They will talk to you in terms of, how sick am I? What should I take? How difficult will this be to recover from? Will this be an expensive and long process? Will it be painful? I think you should sort of keep those types of things in the back of your head when you're talking to an insurance agent or a potential new insurance agent. Let's ask a few more questions and then we'll move along. Tell me about the financial strength of my insurance company. Explain it to me. And you may not understand that everything that your agent says, but you need to make sure that they understand what they're telling you. You need to make sure that they have the confidence in the insurance company that is needed. Not all insurance companies are created equal. Not all of them have the kind of financial depth and resources and experience that they really should have in order to handle your claim, particularly in a situation such as this. We've talked over and over about how pressed, how overwhelmed some insurance companies are. Well, let's maybe pay a little bit more money on the front end to get an insurance company that we know has the resources, the infrastructure, the finances, the experience to handle a situation such as Hurricane Michael effectively and reasonably. We don't want them to be trying to figure it out on the fly. An insurance company needs to know what they're doing after the storm hits. One thing that I think is very important and I think is very present for all of us right now is it would be helpful, I think, if you looked at your agent and said, look, let's assume that Hurricane Michael hit just yesterday. Walk me through the process of a claim. I've not talked to you yet. The storm has just hit. What should I do? What happens now? What is my expectation? And your insurance agent, your new insurance agent, should be able to cleanly walk you through that process in simple language you understand. They should be able to lay out processes and give you a step-by-step set of instructions for how you can have the best result. They need to be able to explain to you how you can avoid AOB problems, avoid predatory contractors, not have to pay a bunch of additional fees, and not be subject to an insurance company that misbehaves. It's very, very important that you understand those things up front when you write the check, as opposed to on the back end when the insurance company is writing the check. Let's always remember, it's best to understand the process when you write the check, not when they write the check. A couple of other things you might ask them. How often should I expect to hear from you? How are you going to communicate with me? What's your experience? Give me a 1-minute resume on what you do. Will you be handling my policy, or will you be pushing that off to somebody that's on staff? If you're going to give it to somebody that's on staff, what's their experience? Why would you let them handle this as opposed to you? Can I have your cell number? When can I contact you? What are your hours? What do I do if I have a problem after hours? What if I have an emergency? These are all valid questions, and you should press, you should press, you should press. You should not, if you were interviewing somebody as someone that could be potentially critical in your financial recovery after a bad situation, I think you'd want to ask them hard questions. You'd want to ask them difficult questions. And you wouldn't want them to just spin out of those questions with maybe difficult language that you didn't understand, or with a little bit of charm. Pin them down. Ask them to be specific. Ask them to be clear with you. Let's see what else we've got. I do have some more notes that I want to get to. I think the fundamental question you should ask them and have them be able to very cleanly articulate is, why should I hire you? That's a standard question in any job interview. Why should I hire you? Not why should I hire, I need help, I need a person to fulfill this role. Why should I hire you? That is a very important thing, and someone should be able to tell you, for instance, why they're better than the guy down the street. Why should I hire you instead of that guy? What if you're $100 more than that guy? Why should I still hire you? Are you going to earn that $100? Are you going to be worth the extra $100 that I pay? Are you going to add value to the equation? And should price be a secondary consideration? You really won't know about price up front until you get through the quote process. Obviously, it's free. It takes a little bit of your time, and that's the only investment you have. But I think it's very important that you keep the pressure on. You need to remember who's boss. You write the check. That makes you the boss. That means you conduct the job interview your way. You ask the questions that you feel you need to ask to gain some confidence. And I think that you need to be very, very clear that if they're not answered properly, it's very simple. You don't make the hire. You just don't make the hire. There's lots of other questions, and I'll post some more on Facebook in written form. So if you want to print them out and take them to a job interview, you're certainly welcome to. I would encourage you, whether it's us or any other agent, we have some really good quality, honorable local competition. And I think whenever you possibly can, you've all learned in this particular storm that having local representation is a really good idea. And we've all talked about hiring local contractors, local experts, local people that are invested in this community, and people that are invested in your long-term success. So I think that should play forward to your investment in an agent. And I think if you will invest the time and energy and rigor in interviewing and finding a new agent, and challenge them. They need to earn your money. They need to earn your trust. And if they do, write them a check, but make sure they continue to earn it in the long term. Thanks for being with us tonight, and we'll see you on Wednesday.